Welcome back to the Expediting Change podcast, where we talk to you about the positive progression of the culture. Today, I have a very special guest here. My guy is going to come talk to you about economics. I told you I started this podcast for the positive progression of the culture and talk about financial education, which is more than just financial literacy. It's been time for us to get the bag. So we're going to talk about it. So remember, it's going to be chopped up, not screwed, but just chopped up and put into bite-sized pieces so you can understand, you can feel it, make sure you embrace it, and then go get your own bag. So I'm excited to invite my guest here to speak today, to invite my guest to start speaking and me get off the mic so he can get on the mic so we can chop it up about economics.
Why is it you really want to preach, boy? I want to teach more because I'm experienced. If you can learn from me, then...
Would you introduce yourself, brother?
Okay, Dr. Curtis Haynes Jr.
Nice, nice.
I've been in Buffalo since 1993. since the last millennium, the last century.
You consider yourself a Buffalonian?
Well, I was telling my man off camera right here is that when I was a politician for a second here, right? I was a council member. I was the Ellicott District Council member, and during that time period, right, I came to understand the language. I'm a Buffalonian by choice.
No doubt, no doubt.
A Buffalonian by choice, right? So when I first came here, like I went to a football game, I was not rooting for the Bills.
Oh no! Cancel the podcast. It's over. Podcast over. Take 3.
Hey, but yeah, I'm a Buffalonian now,
No
for sure. I've lived here more than I have anywhere else in the world, and I'm a world traveler.
Dope,
right? So,
dope. Some of the places you've been to?
Well, I was born in England.
Okay.
I was born in England.
I knew that. As long as we know each other, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I was born in England. My father was in the Air Force, and I was born in England. And then from I was only as a baby, right? And then we moved to the United States. And the thing is that what was real interesting is that during this time period, this was the late 50s, and my father is from Bessemer, Alabama, right outside of Birmingham, right? And he joined the military. He joined the military, and it's clear he wasn't that he was joining the military for patriotism, you know. But I mean, he went to Dunbar Colored High School, right?
Colored High School.
Colored High School, right? He went to Dunbar Colored High School, right? Birmingham, Bull Connor time period, right? And so those experiences got him to join the military, and then he met my mother in England, in London at a jazz club. And those people, those of y'all who know jazz, right? You know this club is called Ronnie Scott's, right? Ronnie Scott, like anybody who's been to England is like,
it was the shit.
It was, right? And so they became lovers, right?
Nice.
And they got married. But what was interesting, I want to tell you about the story, right? Was that my father was stationed out near Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
Right? And when he came back, when they found out that it was an interracial couple, it was against the law.
Yep.
Right? It was against the law. So he got reassigned to March Air Force Base in California.
Wow.
Right. So that's the beginning, right? But I traveled.
Wait, so did she leave did your mom leave with him?
Yeah, they came back. They came back with me like this.
Okay.
But the first military assignment, right, with them married, was in Florida. But at that time, it was against the law for interracial marriage.
Wow. So they had you in tow, and Florida said not here.
Yeah.
And they had to get up out of there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't even think they even got into Florida. They when they got back here, they got reassigned to California. But and then I spent my teenage life, like from 13 to 19, I lived my father was stationed in Germany, and I graduated from high school in Germany, and I took my first college class in Spain.
Do you speak Spanish?
Yeah. Yo hablo un poquito, sí.
Hey, busting it out. I can't respond. I'm still on my Rosetta Stone.
But the thing is, like being a teenager in Spain, right? Yeah. The reason I learned Spanish because of a female. You know?
No doubt. The love language. The love language, baby. It's the love language.
Yeah, you know. And so growing up in Europe, right? I would say that like one being you know, like I didn't even know that I was mixed, right?
Mm.
I'm using the language of the 21st. No, it's not even the 21st. That was it's old language. I think the language is much different now.
Yeah.
The vibration is different. The attitude is different.
Absolutely.
And we're bringing in you know, we're bringing in a different world, right?
For sure.
But in that world, right? Like you know, like I would say, when I was in elementary school, I remember my mother coming to pick me up one day, and like the first time she picked me up from elementary school, probably like about 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And this kid was like, "Yo, man, I didn't know your mom was white."
Oh no.
And then I looked at her and I was like, "I didn't know that either."
Like, you told me something I don't even know.
Well, I didn't even know,
Right.
because you know, as a kid,
Not paying attention.
I'm not paying attention
Absolutely.
to that. I'm not paying
Absolutely.
attention to that. So,
Absolutely.
and then probably when I left, you know, like again, like probably with my education, high school, you know, I was like most high school kids, right? I lived the Black American lifestyle, but in Europe, right? And pretty much I wasn't thinking about college. Right? I was hustling. I was hustling. I was having a
Wait, define hustling. Or what kind of hustling?
ooh.
You can't speak on Expediting Change?
Yeah.
Come on, man. We got hustlers on Expediting
Well,
Change.
then you started that I might finish, right? But,
no doubt. No
you
doubt.
started that I might finish, but I would say that it was a kind that some of my friends died. Some of my friends ended up in jail.
No doubt. Not the lifestyle you condone now. But at that time, you did what you had to do.
It's not even that I had to do, right? It was, you know, I'm not sure what it was, right? I mean, it's like, because no, it wasn't that I had to do it,
For sure.
right? I mean, I had a good mom and dad,
For
right?
sure.
But I think that you know, probably me, like learning how to be me, right? And it was a nice looking lifestyle.
No doubt. No doubt.
It was a nice,
No doubt.
right? And but
doubt.
my mom was like, "Yo, you getting out of hand
It's
here,
not gonna
right?
work.
And you got to go to college, right?" And so I wasn't feeling college, but and I was probably I only applied to one school. So my father was he was stationed in Massachusetts, so we had residency in Massachusetts, even though I was living in Spain. So I applied to the University of Massachusetts, and I got accepted in a similar to the EOP program here.
No doubt.
You know, my
EOP.
right, yeah, and my what SATs were typical Black American SATs. We
For
were,
sure.
you know, I wasn't. You
Not
know,
the top, not
yeah,
the bottom.
Not at the top. Right?
I
At the
understand
top.
that story.
Not
I
at
understand.
the top, right? And so I got accepted through that program.
Yep.
Right, and a lot of my education came through that level of consciousness. So I would say, like, if I was to break it down, is that, you know, I developed and it became like one now that I'm an economist and a political economist.
Yep.
Right. My work is built around this idea of Black political economy.
No doubt.
And Black political economy, like the framework starts with the assumption that Black Americans are no different than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So then when you go look back, it's like, well, what is it that creates the appearance of difference?
No doubt.
Right? And I see it like in my own trajectory, like, you know, growing up, being born into this time space continuum, right? No consciousness, right? There's no consciousness. You know, my first thing is a breath, right? But then people around me, you know, like have a consciousness, and then, you know, so I would say that my early life, I started developing probably what I would call like a Black cultural experience.
No doubt. Now, is this before or after? Because I want to know, I'm interested. How did you put the two together, right? Because you're an economist. How did you, what came into you for you to then say political? Like, how did you pair those two?
So I would say what it was like I said, for my teenage life, growing up in the military, I had a Black cultural experience, right? And I want to make this is important, right, to talk about it as being a cultural experience, because it wasn't an economic experience.
No doubt.
Because the economics was military, right? You know, if your father's an NCO, non-commissioned officer, so is the white boys.
No doubt.
Right? You know,
No doubt.
and so our economics
Level playing field.
was level
quote
playing
unquote.
field.
No doubt.
right?
Yep.
And then when I came, you know, when I got accepted at UMass, I came and we had a property. And well, not property. My father, my mom and dad's house, right? It wasn't an income property. It was their house, right? I didn't learn about income property until later in my life, right? But it was their house, and so I had residency. And for a second there, I was living in Springfield, Massachusetts, and going to school in University of Massachusetts, which now I would call the Happy Valley, right? And it was a Happy Valley because there was a consortium of Amherst College, Hampshire College, Smith College, Mount Holyoke College, and UMass.
Yep.
And UMass is the big one, the big public one.
Yep.
Amherst is Ivy League.
Yep.
Smith and Mount Holyoke are women's colleges. Hampshire is the rich kids school, right? So, and we had a free bus that went to all these colleges. So I had that. But I also caught a bus from where I lived in Springfield to the Happy Valley, right? And probably one of the first things that really made me understand economics was that, like, I was here I came in like right at the tail end of busing. And so a lot of the black kids and the white kids, like from Roxbury, Dorchester's, South Boston, South Buffalo, same kind of thing, right?
I can't imagine in that area there were a lot of black folks.
In at UMass, it was like probably only out of 24,000, probably only about 500 black folks, right?
Wow.
But I mean, a lot of them came, kind of like at Buff State here, right? A lot of them came from the city.
Yep.
Well, a lot of the black kids came from the city too, from Boston, Roxbury, Dorchester. And the white kids came from South Buffalo, and they hated each other.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I mean, it was like, think about it. You're being bused from, and this is the irony of busing, right? You're being bused from one poor black community to a poor white community. Right? It'd be kind of be like being bused from the east side to South Buffalo.
No doubt.
Where really, if busing was to be effective, you had to go to Williamsville.
No doubt.
You got to go to Clarence. If you really want to like respond to these problems, these issues, right?
No doubt. Mix the economics.
Mix the economics up. And I went through a cultural shock. I was like, damn, you know, because like growing up in the military, it's like I listened to a particular kind of music. The white boys listened to different kind of music, but we were cool. Right. It's just, I played ball. They did their thing. You know, they listened to Pink Floyd. I'm listening to Marvin Gaye. Right. You know, and so I went through a cultural shock.
Would you say it was a shock or was it trauma or both?
Was it the trauma? I don't think I like. No, I wasn't. It was mostly shock. Okay. Because again, I think the what my advantage was my economics. Okay. Like going to, like for example, people. Like when I first started learning about socialism and capitalism, as a high school kid, you have no idea, right?
No doubt.
And so when I started getting politicized at UMass, people were talking about, socialism, and I was like, wow, that's what I had, right? And so because that's like you had free education, healthcare, youth centers, right? No serious economic stress, right? And I was like, and they like, no, that's not socialism. That was militarism.
No doubt.
And then that's when I started getting politicized, right? That's not socialism. That was militarism.
The distinction.
It was, it was huge, right? And so then at UMass I got politicized. I spent a lot of time at this place called the New Africa House, right? And New Africa House.
We still in Massachusetts.
Now I'm at the University of Massachusetts.
Okay.
Right. So again, I spent my 13 through 19 in Europe. Now at 19, I'm at UMass, experiencing this, this shock. Because I didn't personally experience trauma. Like I can't say anything about my dad or but the shock was like, why are people?
What's going on here?
What's going on here? And then I got politicized, and that's when I started developing a.
Say what you mean to the folks about you got politicized.
Yeah. Okay. So like my teachers, the ones who had the strongest impact on me, were teaching out of the New Africa House, the Black Studies Department, and they a lot of them like coming out of the '60s. Yeah. Some of them without PhDs, right? But street cred, right? Yeah. So some of them were ex-Panthers, right? No doubt. And so I got introduced to a black nationalist kind of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's what kind of happened.
So
Matter of fact, what happened was being introduced to that way of thinking, spending my time in the Black Studies department in the New Africa House.
yeah.
And plus I went to, like, my mind was I wanted to play basketball.
No doubt. But back up real quick though, because I what would you say to individuals? You use the term, the nomenclature, politicized, to someone with a negative connotation to say that you were indoctrinated. What would you say to that?
Well, I might have been indoctrinated.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
Okay.
I went through the full phase of Black nationalism.
Okay.
And I could probably say that was an indoctrination.
No doubt.
But it spoke to what I was seeing.
No doubt.
Right. But I would say that at this stage of my life, I think, like now as a social scientist, I understand the Black nationalist phase of my own life.
No doubt.
Right. And I would say also the Black nationalist phase of our community's life.
No doubt. So removing the negative connotation, it was what you needed in the moment, what you needed to hear in the moment to help frame where you are today.
Well, to say what I needed, right, is I would even say it's what I experienced.
Okay.
Right? It's not.
It was what it was. You weren't looking for it.
It was what it was, right?
No doubt.
I had no consciousness of what was needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a scholar activist, I do have a consciousness.
Absolutely.
And we could get to that. It's like, but I don't know if you want me to keep talking.
No, yeah, we flowing. We flowing.
Yeah.
I do have a question that fast forwards, because it's interesting when I say fast forward, because you're taking us down the history of it, which is amazing. But you mentioned militarism, socialism, and capitalism.
Yeah.
So I am deeply interested, because I don't know if we've ever had this conversation, as many conversations as we've had, behind these theories of socialism versus capitalism. So I'm super interested in your thoughts.
All right. Well, so one, I would say it doesn't have to be socialism versus capitalism. It don't have to be that way. I think that what I would say in terms of my own thoughts is, again, like when I was highly influenced by the Black nationalist impact when I was as an undergraduate, like, for example, I became the editor of a newspaper right, that was distributed with the Collegian, which was the college newspaper, and the newspaper's name was called Numo News, Nummo. Right? It's a version of Swahili, right? And what Numo meant and does mean, right, it's the magic of the written and spoken word.
My name is Swahili.
Okay, all right. So you recognize the Numo, right? Yeah. So the magic of the written spoken word. And so I was the editor for that newspaper. And that newspaper was funded by the Student Government Association. Yeah. But what was interesting is that when I became the editor, right, it was a Black newspaper, but it was hard to get black people to work on the newspaper. Like, it was interesting. You had the radio station right down the hall, and everybody was
everybody wanted to be on the radio. Nobody wanted to write, but everybody wanted to be on the radio.
Everybody wanted to be on the radio, right? And so again, like my lifestyle, like I grew up, I was an internationalist.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, long story short, and I think, one, this was functional. Yeah. I had to get people to work for the newspaper. Yeah. But it was also part of my personality is that, we became a third world newspaper. Right? And so we had, like, the first 4 major pages of the newspaper was Black American. Yeah. Right. Then we had 1 page which was African, 1 page that was Latino, South American, right? And some other.
It's interesting you say Latino as opposed to Hispanic. Hispanic can be offensive to some Latinos, so just thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, Hispanic is a colonial link, right? So,
we could do a whole podcast. We could do a whole podcast on that.
That's a colonial link,
no doubt.
But yeah, so I ran it as a third world newspaper, and I learned a lot. Yeah. Right? And so I was so how I got into economics. A lot of people are like, what? How'd you get into economics? And the truth is, I was second semester senior.
Okay.
and I had I had to have a major.
No
right?
doubt. No
I had
doubt.
to have a major, and I taken some economics classes, and that was the best way to
This
get
fits.
out.
So I gotta get out of here.
That's how I
gotta
got
get
out.
out of here.
That's how I got
Gotta
out.
get out of
right?
here.
And so.
But you were almost unknowingly living it. You had an unconscious competence of economics, though.
Well, not at that time, right? I mean,
When you were young, though, because looking back on it, you can pay deference and respect to the things that you were learned, that you were absorbed in, like you said, socialism versus militarism. That like you came up in that, so that's like an unconscious.
Yeah,
competence.
I mean, so yeah, I think like I'm a social scientist now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very clear about what I would call cultural processes, political processes, economic processes, environmental processes. I'm very clear on those things, right? And so it's very clear when I look at myself as my own experiment. That is how I see myself. I am an experiment,
no doubt.
right? And the way I interact with life is experimental, right? But when I look back, I see the dominance of culture. Then I see the dominance of politics, and like the black nationalists, right? So, but then when I was an undergraduate, like I graduated into a recession, and it's like, and that also I was, I had a baby with a college sweetheart, right? And so I was had to put food on the table.
No doubt. You got to provide.
I had to provide.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was like, well, let me go. The jobs weren't quite what I was looking for. I was doing alternative detention. I was working at a detention center.
Yeah. Wait, now you still in Massachusetts?
Still in Massachusetts.
Okay.
All of this is Massachusetts, right? Yeah, because actually my whole college career was Massachusetts.
Okay.
Right? I did undergraduate. Then I went to graduate school, right? And again, it was one of those things. Like my whole life, I slipped through the cracks. I would really have to say that. But I kind of feel like that rose that grew in the crack of a sidewalk.
No doubt.
That's
no
me,
doubt.
right?
No doubt.
And now I'm giving fruit, right? Because I know that's what this podcast is about. Is well, what does the fruit look like?
No doubt.
Right.
I like it.
So I'm
gonna have to steal that too.
Yeah.
Don't charge me.
All right. No. All right. But yeah. So for long, to really get to where the meat is, right? I was able to get into graduate school pretty much the same way I got into undergraduate.
No doubt.
Like through the cracks.
No doubt.
That was when affirmative action was a viable thing, right?
Yeah.
So I had met the person who probably had the biggest impact with regard to your question, with regard to political economy and economics, was my mentor. This guy who became my mentor was Lloyd Hogan.
Okay.
And Lloyd Hogan was a professor at Hampshire College, which was part of that consortium. I took a class with him as an undergraduate, and I knew people who knew him. But then when I was in graduate school, a lot of the economics just, when I looked at my world, and I looked at what was being put on the blackboard,
didn't add up.
It didn't connect.
For sure.
It didn't connect.
For sure.
I wasn't happy at all.
For sure.
But then I ran into Lloyd Hogan, and he wrote a book called The Principles of Black Political Economy. It was published in 1984. And that book became the framework for my dissertation. And my dissertation, which I defended in 93, right before I came to Buffalo, right, was called what was it called? An essay in cooperative economics, cooperative enterprise, and economic development in Black America.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so it's 1993. So after this podcast, I think we're having a cooperative. We're having a stakeholders meeting. Stakeholders assembly.
Okay.
Where
why you distinguish assembly versus meeting?
Well, because the assembly is in our bylaws.
Okay.
That's the name of it.
Okay.
It's part of our bylaws.
Okay.
So I am part of a real estate. I'm a member of a real estate cooperative.
Yeah.
It's a management and holding cooperative.
Yeah.
And so we're having our first stakeholder meeting. So we became a co-op in 2023, own some real estate, and so it's kind of like I've been consistent.
No doubt.
My dissertation in '93 was about a cooperative enterprise.
Yep.
And now I'm a co-owner of a real estate cooperative.
Yep.
In 2024, and I'm about to leave here, and we're going to be handing out our certificates of ownership.
Yep.
And so it's it's boots on the ground now.
Why is that? I know that you're an amazing professor, and you could do these things on your own. So why is it so important for you, the cooperative economics? Like, talk to me. I fundamentally believe a rising tide raises all ships, right? But talk to me about that collaborative effort. Like, why I've known you for years, and you've been talking about cooperative economics for a very long time. I mean, it is
talk about knowing me for years.
Say it again.
Look at this.
Whoa! I designed this logo, didn't I?
You designed it.
created this logo. I created this logo with my first company. Wow! Conscious Investment Group. I think we did this business cards too, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know if we did. Maybe may have.
I think we
right?
did the business cards.
But you did the logo. But what?
Taj Solutions.
Yeah, right.
I think we did that logo.
Yeah, that's right. But if you notice on the logo, like, look at the figure in the back.
Yeah.
If I remember the conversation, I don't know if you remember that conversation, right? But you were like, well, should we change this up? I like, no.
No. Yeah.
Because I don't know what it's going to look like.
For sure.
I know what it looks like now.
No doubt.
It's very clear.
No doubt.
It's very clear.
No doubt.
Right? Matter of fact, for those of you out there, like our website is cigbuffalo.com.
No doubt.
So check us out, cigbuffalo.com. Also, you could check us if you want to email us at cigbuffalo@gmail.com. Or if you want to email me, Dr. C. Haynes Jr. @gmail.com, right? If you want to kick it with me at some point about this stuff. But yeah, man, I had to bring this.
Yeah,
man.
I see you pulled it out, man. You pulled it out. Pause on that, but he had the cards, bro.
Yeah.
But so tell me though, because you've always been about cooperative economics. Why not go it alone when you know that you can?
Okay, why? Well, no, I don't think. I think that's a misnomer, man. I mean, I don't think that's true. I think the only people who believe that is the middle class.
Okay. Ooh.
Rich people don't believe that, and poor people don't believe that.
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
So I think that's probably we being hoodwinked on that one.
No doubt. No doubt.
And then the question is like, okay, so that's a hoodwink, right? Well, then, like I said, I was traumatized, right? Like I said, me being
traumatized by what?
Going back to when I first came from Europe to America, right? It's like I didn't get it.
No doubt.
Right? I'm growing up, as a black male, right? Wanted, like I said, wanted to play basketball, but like the visceral, like anger, that was being played out, right? Yeah. Whereas I didn't grow up like that, right? I mean, I was Black American because I love basketball. I love R&B, right? People saw me as black, and then I ended up seeing myself as black,
for sure,
right? And then racism was like, probably as a kid, the white boys are over there, you want to play with them, and they don't want to play with you, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it, right? And then, but even with black folks, right? It's like, okay, you mixed.
From racism to colorism.
For sure.
Sure.
So all that was like, but I think I just like I can't say that going back to the economics, right? I didn't choose economics. Economics chose me.
No doubt.
And so like I was talking to my team yesterday, right? About this company. So the name of the real estate company is called Mondragon Village Association.
Okay.
Right? And Mondragon this is going back to the question about capitalism, socialism, and cooperativism.
No doubt.
Okay, because I'm a proponent of the third way.
Okay.
You got socialism on one side, which is strong state planning, strong government intervention. You got capitalism. The rugged individualism, right? but neither one of those really worked for Black America.
No doubt. Respect that.
Yeah, and
For most Black Americans, some's gotten through it.
No, I'm saying Black America, not necessarily Black Americans.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
We
Distinction.
we got. I mean, you and I are here. Like, look at where we at. This is beautiful, right?
No doubt.
So yeah, I walk the planet, giving gratitude for my existence every day.
Absolutely.
Almost every moment.
Absolutely.
So I'm I've seen things.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that I'm here. But yeah, so Mondragon Village Association, right? I came. So Mondragon is a cooperative economic system that I studied and I wrote about in my dissertation.
Okay.
And so my dissertation was in part, it started with W.E.B. Du Bois. Then we looked at worker-owned businesses, and just different ways of like empowerment, right? And I settled in on this system called Mondragon. And Mondragon means dragon mountain in Spanish, right? And Mondragon is a cooperative system that was created in northern Spain, the Basque lands of Spain, and it was built around during the time period of a fascist Franco, right? So Spain was fascist at the time, right? And there was a priest, his name was Father Jose Arzamendi. He was banished to this village called Mondragon. And Mondragon is Dragon Mountain. And he taught, kind of like in my thesis and some of the people I work with, we say that the way Mondragon came into existence it could be an appropriate model for economic development in Black America, right? So, like recognizing that the individualism of capitalism doesn't really speak to the circumstances that we're experiencing because we're forced into a group economy, right? And then the state interventions without like really recognizing who we are, just dropping money, that doesn't work either,
for sure,
right? But the cooperative is, you take agency, you take responsibility of your own lives in such a way that you generate wealth, right? So in Mondragon, so Father Jose Arzamendi, they would call him like a Christian socialist, right? But he started a school. He was teaching the language it was against the law to speak the language. It was Basque. The Basques, right? This was similar to Black Americans. Like the Basque saw themselves as a minority in Spain. Some of them did. Some of them saw themselves as a racial group. Some of them saw themselves as Spanish. Right. So they had, just like us, right? We had that same kind of mixed way of thinking about ourselves. And so they started organizing around the concept of being Basque. We all Basque, right? And he with a group of his students, they started a small business. I think they did lanterns, right? And they built this hiving model where it was a kind of representative and participatory democracy within the firms and within the economy. It's like we're familiar with it within the political system. They did it in the economic system, right? And so they started in the 50s, and now they have about 80,000 worker owners, right? And all based off of representative and participatory democracy. And they get economies of scale through about 200 businesses that are all linked.
Are they their own government?
No. They're part of Spain, right?
Okay.
So this is all economics. This would be like
how they function.
This would be like Google. Well, this would be they're just manufacturing. This would be like this would be like Tesla.
Okay.
Imagine Tesla like this, right? Where Tesla is owned by the workers.
Okay.
Right. That's what it would be like.
Okay.
Right. They do manufacturing. They do refrigerators. They do carp. I mean.
So like an ESOP?
No, not like an ESOP. No, it's not like an ESOP. It's straight up representative democracy. Right. One person, one vote. So like in a capitalist corporation, right?
Yep.
It's one share, one vote,
yep,
right?
share
And
owner.
so if you have 1 million shares, you get 1 million votes,
Absolutely.
right? And so you skew,
Yeah.
right? You can skew,
Yep.
and then you get capital gains with that vote, right?
Which is power.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep.
And in a cooperative, so like if you think of a capitalist firm like this, right? In terms of the wealth differential,
distribution. Yep.
wealth be like this.
Yep.
In a cooperative, it would be like this, right? It would be a lot more horizontal.
No doubt.
Right? So you got about 80,000 worker owners, 200,000 consumer owners, right? So it's a network of consumer cooperatives, worker cooperatives, service sector, manufacturing sector, and it's built from the ground up, but it's supported from the top down.
No
right?
doubt.
So you got all these workers on the second tier. You got a bank, right? It's called Caja Laboral Popular, right?
Yeah.
And it like in our communities, it's hard to get the banks to work with us on the business side. We probably have more opportunity to get a bank loan for residential property than we would for business property,
commercial.
right? For commercial. But Caja Laboral Popular, which is owned by the workers, right? Their purpose is research and development, venture capital, and support all these cooperatives. Right, and the cooperatives, like they're clusters, right? You got clusters of 5 here, a cluster of 5 there, cluster of 5 there. You got all these different clusters, right? And then they vote, and then on the second tier, representatives of each cluster represent them on the second tier.
Wow.
Right, and then on the third tier, the bank, right? And so, but the purpose of the bank is to keep the system going.
And who owns the bank? Who runs the bank?
The workers own it.
Wow.
Right, the workers own it, right? And so, and their mission is different than a traditional capitalist mission, right? So like during the economic recession, capitalists are going to lay people off.
Absolutely.
In a cooperative, they find new jobs.
No doubt.
You're going to retrain, right?
No
We're
doubt.
going to help you, right? This whole system, first tier, second tier, third tier, we're all designed to make sure that you as an owner are taken care of. You and your family are taken care of.
So you're flipping it on it's about the people, not just the system.
Yeah, so going back, right? So as an economist studying all these different economic systems, socialism, capitalism, and then the political theories that go with them. So I've settled in, and then we could like really get to the out part of this. And I settled in on Black political economy, and so the way I look at Black political economy is it's a framework that when I took economics, like I said, I didn't see myself. I didn't see what I saw. I didn't see race and class on the blackboard as being taught by my professor.
For sure.
But Lloyd Hogan's work was like, it spoke clearly.
No doubt.
Lloyd Hogan's work really explained how all this happened.
No doubt.
Right? So I studied his work very deeply, and then I added my new stuff, right? And so what I look at now and the way I'm interacting with the world right now is that I see Black political economy as a bridge from economics of scarcity to economics of abundance. And
say that again. I like that.
Right, Black political economy as a bridge from economics of scarcity to economics of abundance.
Nice.
The beauty of it is, a lot of times, we kind of think and we see in a very linear way.
No doubt.
Right, and so when we look in a linear way, we kind of see like, okay, well, the white folks are way in front of us, right? So we gotta catch up to them.
No doubt.
This model is like, we catapult. We in front of them, right?
No doubt.
Like the language of Black political economy and the language of economics abundance speaks to the 21st century. It speaks to young people, Black, white, right? The young people they're hungry.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're hungry, and that old language of scarcity,
absolutely,
is not feeding them.
No, not at all.
It's not feeding
not
them.
At all. And they pushing back, and they pushing back. They're kicking the door in.
Right. And so I would say that the language of Black political economy and the language of economic abundance is feeding me, and the people around me, and generally when I talk, it resonates with like from 2-year-old to a 90-year-old.
No doubt. Frame abundance. What do you mean when you say Black abundance? Because abundance.
Well, I didn't say Black abundance. I said abundance.
Okay, abundance. Frame abundance. What do you mean, and how is that in this language of cooperativism and?
Well, okay, so Okay. How much time we got?
We got time. We got
All right,
time.
we got time. All right. So I would say framing of abundance. So let me frame the political economy first.
Okay.
Okay. So the political economy is like the way I break it down in my classes, right? Political economy is about people, and economics is about food, right? And so political economy is like, so then we break it down even further beyond that, like political economy is about how people socially reproduce themselves.
Okay.
How do we as people reproduce society? Right? So there's 350 million people in the United States of America. Well, how is that society reproduced? You know, this is what it looks like in 2024. What's it going to look like in 2044?
For sure.
Well, we are going to create that society for 2024.
Absolutely.
Right? Or 2044 rather. Right? And then the economics is like, you know, how do we secure, you know, you got to secure the bag. How do we secure our daily bread?
Yeah.
How do we put food on the table?
Yeah.
And so that, you know, that is what Black political economy, well, let's say this, that's what political economy speaks to.
Yeah.
But the beauty of what Lloyd Hogan did is like, he's got this broad political economy framework that you could talk about America, you could talk about Japan, you could talk about China, you could talk about Brazil, you could talk about Argentina, right? You could talk about different states, you could talk about Buffalo, but you could also explain the socioeconomic conditions of Black Americans also as a population of people who have a long history from being free people on the African continent, being enslaved, 400 years of slavery, then sharecropping, which is a form of feudalism, and then entering into the capitalist system as wage laborers in an environment that's separate and unequal. And that consequence, as an economist, economics of abundance, is that you have how many generations? 500 years that created a broad generational poverty, and the wealth that was created went into generational wealth.
For sure.
And the world that we look at, when we look at the East Side and we look at Williamsville and Clarence, that's a function of it.
No doubt.
That's a function
of
it, right? So, and the thing is that in like I learned not to be mad.
Right.
You know, as a young man, it made me mad.
No doubt.
But what I realized going about what wealth is health.
No doubt.
Right. And so it's like I could look at that, you know, because you know, like a lot of my mentors were very angry. Justifiably so, right? But if we're going to get to economics of abundance, it's kind of like we make in economics we call it a normative position. Right? Normative is a value-based decision. Right?
Sure.
So I'm a scientist, but some of my science is value-based, and the value-based part of is like looking. You say you were influenced by what happened during 2020, right? I was too. But if we think about it, right, if we're really going to find solutions, right, we're in the realm of abundance, is that you have a choice. You could hate the bad or you could love the good, right?
Hate the bad or love the good.
Right, and that's the choice. And both of them
which
are
way
right.
you want to vibrate?
Both of them are right. Both of them are right.
No doubt.
There's a lot of bad to hate.
No doubt.
But how do you, like you said, how do you want to vibrate?
Absolutely.
Right? And I know I want to vibrate love the good.
Absolutely.
And loving the good is where we want our people to be.
Absolutely.
Right? So you kind of lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, so more specifically, what does wealth look like in the 21st century as a function of this form of analysis?
Yeah.
Me as a social scientist, we call it life wealth and material wealth. Right? And so we got this little acronym. You might appreciate this. We got this little acronym of it's called 1111. Right? There's 11 words, right? And so the first 11 words is about flow. Right? And let's see if I get this right. It's like cultivate, transform, transmute, utilize, and transcend sexual energy and other stimuli. Right? It's about energy, cultivating energy. transform energy, transmute energy, utilize energy, transcend energy, right? That's the language of the 21st century, right? When we moving into this the metasphere and like, I don't know about what, I mean, your kids, right? But my son, 15, right? He he's in he's in digital space.
No doubt.
Very comfortable there.
No doubt.
Most of his friends are there.
No doubt.
Right? And so we're in the language of the economics of scarcity. Was Newtonian, right?
Yep.
It was about molecules, it was about matter.
Yeah.
And then then the politics of it was like, people got the weapons, the guns, and all that stuff. Well, they take everything from the Native Americans, from the Africans. I mean, they took it from everybody.
No doubt.
Took it from everybody, right? But no, we vibrated. It's like, what is going to be the best way for us to move forward?
For sure.
And as human beings, not regional human beings, not ethnic human beings, but human beings.
For sure.
Right? Human perfectibility.
No doubt.
Right? How do we pursue human perfectibility? And again, that's one thing I used to think about. It's not even, like, I don't even pursue it anymore.
Absolutely.
I just am it.
Absolutely.
I just live it.
No
right?
doubt.
It's like, I understand that the closest thing to being perfect is being close to love, right? And so the closer you to love is the closer you are going to be to perfection.
I love that. And I've never heard the framing of life wealth and material wealth, and you led with life wealth first. That's powerful.
It is. Right?
That's absolutely powerful.
And actually, I led with energy, right? So you are energy. I'm energy, right? We're all the products of universal energy,
for sure,
which is a framework,
for sure, right?
And like a lot of Westerners are not ready for this language. Right?
Absolutely.
But it's kind of clear. Young people are, right? People who are into the arts, and like I have a lot of creatives in my world.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you got creatives in your world.
Absolutely.
I see it's obvious, right? They always talking about energy. They're always talking about flow, right?
Absolutely.
But in terms of the wealth, so that was the first 11, right? That's a flow concept. The stock concept, right, is to create, attract, accumulate, demonstrate, and share life wealth and material wealth. Right? So you create life wealth, right? You create material wealth. You demonstrate, or create it, attract. You attract life wealth, material wealth, and life wealth is being in alignment, healthy, wealthy, and wise, that kind of thing, right? And then accumulate. Right? It's like, a lot of I was highly influenced. We had a culture of poverty, right?
Yeah.
I was trained to study poverty.
Yeah. And
all my intellectual energy went into studying poverty.
Yeah.
But 21st century, I'm studying abundance.
No doubt.
And my lifestyle is demonstrating what I'm studying, right? I'm living what I'm studying.
No doubt. As an economist, and I don't want to force you to choose, but I'm interested in your thoughts, because you mentioned stock, right? So they say the majority of the wealthiest people on the planet have real estate in their portfolio. So is it by way of compounding through the stock market if I'm a young person, or achieving that wealth to make sure that wealth in abundance lives on for legacies through real estate? And do you have a preference? That's
ready for the next podcast. That's the next podcast, man, because that's a whole podcast in and of itself.
It is. But if you had to choose.
I've already chose, right? I mean, I own real estate.
No doubt.
I own stocks. I own bonds. I own gold. I own silver. I own Bitcoin.
No doubt.
I own all of them.
No doubt. No doubt. So
you might be surprised to hear what I say.
No, not me. Surprised?
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm going.
Okay, all right.
Bitcoin.
Oh no, doctor! Come on.
That's what I'm about to say. You're gonna be surprised at what I'm saying.
Bitcoin specifically or crypto?
Nah, Bitcoin specifically.
You gotta tell me why. We're gonna spend some more cruise. We're gonna spend a little more time cruise. Okay. Yes, I'm surprised.
Right, Bitcoin's a commodity.
Agreed.
Right, and so I think that
you gotta frame this, brother. You got it. It's volatile. it's abstract, and I'm not saying that I'm against it. So
Okay,
don't look at this
that's
podcast. Here's Shomari say
this is. So you asked me a question
for sure.
with regard to stocks,
Yep.
bonds,
Yep.
and like I told you, I got them all.
Yeah.
I've been investing since.
No doubt. No
So
doubt.
you too.
No doubt.
Right. So I'll throw the question back at you. Right. I know you into school. You teaching young people.
Yeah.
Right. So probably where we'll both agree on.
Okay.
Right? Building the asset column.
Okay, no doubt. But I'm not letting you off the hook. You got to tell me more about this, about Bitcoin specifically, because I trust your judgment. You know that. I listened to you for years, and I am not, for clarity, I am not a skeptic, and I am not against Bitcoin. But one of the conversations that we have when talking about the culture is, even with regular stock, the culture is seeing it as extremely abstract. So I'd rather go buy a house because it's tangible. I can see it, I can touch it, I can have tenants. So then to move them to the stock market, which is a lesser form of being able to go touch it and feel it, to now move into the digital age of Bitcoin specifically, it's a tough sell.
Let's step back for a second, right? Moving into the digital age.
Yeah.
When did we start?
The digital age? We started the digital age when I was in college. Before I was in college. I should have bought Google and Facebook when I was in college.
I'm not even talking about buying and selling stock, right?
Okay.
I remember, I'm dating myself. I remember 45s.
Okay.
I remember 33s. I remember, like if I wanted to listen to a song, right? You put a 45, then you get like 3 minutes, right?
No doubt.
Then you got to turn it over, or you play it over and over again, right?
Yep.
Or if you had like your dad probably had the big wall of all those albums, right? And you want to change it, you would have an album, right?
Yeah.
And then cassette decks.
Yeah.
Right. Then was it CD players?
For sure.
CD players.
Big
right?
joints.
So you're going from these big machines.
Yeah.
Right. To CD players.
For sure.
That are little discs.
Yeah.
Then you go through the MP3 players.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You go through those. Right.
Yeah.
And now you have online streaming.
No doubt.
That's
right on your phone.
That's
Absolutely.
digitization.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go from passing a note to a girl.
Yeah. No doubt.
Right.
To hitting the little QR code on your phone.
QR code and Instagram.
Yeah.
That's digitization.
For sure.
Right. When's the last time you used a $10, $20, $50 bill?
I was actually just having a conversation with some young people talking about how having cash, if money is not moving, then you're losing it.
Okay.
Now, I can't remember the last time.
I'm not even talking about money moving. I haven't even got to that. I'm just saying actually using the bills.
Well, besides the other day at the airport, just because I wanted to specifically hand this lady cash because my server was terrible, but she took care of me. But if you wipe out that was a tip. Yeah, it was a tip. But no, we saw a card or tapping your phone.
That's digitization.
Absolutely.
Digitization.
Absolutely.
So when you show hesitancy with regard to Bitcoin as a form of digitization, you're already digitized. Right? This podcast is digital.
For sure.
Right? The cameras are digital. For sure. Right? So artificial intelligence, digital.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like, again, you could either hate the bad or love the good,
sure.
right? You can either get with the program, fear the future,
for sure,
or align with the
future,
right? So,
and I'm not against it.
No, because the thing is, what I would say is, most people don't know what it is.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Right? They don't. It's kind of like, I think most people don't know what it is,
or understand it,
right? And a lot of people fear what they don't know and what they don't understand.
Absolutely,
right? But like, I have a decent understanding. I'm teaching a course on it right now.
Really, on Bitcoin?
It's called Bitcoin, Fiat, and the Global Economy.
That's dope.
Yeah, matter of fact, we're going to be doing a podcast May 8th.
Shout your podcast out.
May 8th.
Okay.
Right, at 6:00. Buffalo State College.
Do you think it's gonna? Do you think it'll be the currency of the future?
I think they'll be getting ahead of us.
Because
right? So this is it, right? Like, what was the currency of the past?
It depends. A wheel, bread, coins, gold, whatever we could exchange.
Right.
I mean, currency is that exchange for goods and services.
And so, like where do you store your value? Let me throw it back on you. Like, where do you store your value? I mean, do you, like, cause like we gotta be like, especially for the young folks,
for sure.
Especially like we trying to, again, we're not doing literacy, we doing education.
No, absolutely, right? I love it. I love it.
We doing education.
You on a podcast every week. You on a podcast every week. Let's go. No doubt.
We doing education, right? But like, it's one thing to generate wealth and another thing to store wealth.
I agree. Right? I fundamentally agree.
Right. And so a lot of our people got to figure out how to generate the wealth. Right? We know how to make money.
For sure.
Right. You know that, right? We know how to make money. We just don't know how to keep it.
How we keep it.
We don't know how to convert it to an investment.
Absolutely.
Right? But the economic system that we live in, where money is monopolized by the central banks.
Yeah.
Right? They could, you know, you saw it with the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. You saw it with the pandemic, is that they, you know, because of the relationship between the Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and the federal government, right? If the federal government wants money, like we kind of feel that they need our taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need our taxes. The state might need our taxes.
Right.
The city might need our taxes. The county might need.
Right.
But the Fed doesn't need our taxes because they control the printing press.
Absolutely.
Right? So they control the printing press.
Powers in the pen.
Powers in the ability to print that and create. It's not even print anymore. It's create.
Absolutely.
Right? Zeros and ones.
Absolutely.
Digital.
Absolutely.
Right. The dollar. Right. The dollar is digital.
Absolutely.
Right? I think only 7% of what we call money is paper and coins and stuff like that. 93% of what we call money is digital.
For sure.
Again, I just want to stress that it's digital.
For sure.
Right. So in that environment where, and you're a businessman, I don't know what you have in Treasury, right? But if you have $1 million in Treasury, dollars, right? And you being astute, you just a good businessman, right? And you're very proud that I ran a business that allowed me to have $1 million in Treasury. How you gonna? What you gonna do? You just gonna keep it in Treasury in dollars?
It's a question for me, or
That's
we
a
just
question
theoretically? No, money got to move.
Got to move.
Money got to move. If I'm not getting 6% on my dollar,
okay,
it's not sitting
under
the mattress.
So where are you going to move it?
It depends.
So you're going to move it. Well, it depends for a business, but
sweep account, give me 5, 6, 7%.
Okay,
moving from a big bank like Bank of America, TD Bank, get out of there and go to a local bank that's going to give me more on my dollar.
Okay,
and then make money like they do.
But what do you think? What's the inflation rate?
Good question. Actually, I just had this conversation.
Now, is it CPI or CPI?
Right?
You know, CPI or CPI,
No
right?
doubt.
The CPI says inflation is about 3 point something.
That's what I said, about 3.5.
But that's a lie, right? And all your viewers know it's a lie.
For sure.
When they look at the eggs, when they look at the milk,
Absolutely.
when they look at the car, when they look at college education, when they look at car insurance, right? It's not 3%.
CPI. I'm still in that too.
Yeah. It's not
like
3%.
that.
It's not 3%.
I like that.
And so we're on a treadmill.
Yeah.
We're on a treadmill. Like the treadmill says, you got $1 million, you got to move it.
Yep.
Now there's a lot of people in our world who don't really, like you made a decision to study finance. I made a decision to study finance. But does a dentist want to study finance?
Not even close. I actually just had an Uber ride with a dentist, and we had this conversation.
They would much rather hold on to something and just know that it's going to appreciate in value so they could take care of their business.
For sure.
That's Bitcoin. That's Bitcoin.
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast.
It's another
so
podcast.
We could stop right
it's
there.
Another podcast.
We right there at 60, right? So stay tuned for the next one. Stay tuned. If you want to find out more about this, stay tuned.
I'm bringing right? Dr. Haynes coming on every week. Cruise, sign me up, baby. I got to take a flight. So listen, I'm going to give you the last question.
All right.
And you know the last question forthcoming. And I know that it's almost funny, hilarious for me to ask you this question because we've been riding together for a minute. But what are you doing for the positive progression of the culture? How are you helping individuals right now at the ground? I say where the rubber meets the road. They say we got to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but some people don't have boots. So I can't pull myself up for my bootstraps if I don't have any on. So what are you doing for the positive progression of the culture?
All right, well, one, for those who don't have boots, I got compassion.
I heard that.
I got compassion. Right? That's the part, right? I'm a theoretician. Right? My battlefield is in the realm of knowledge. Right? That's, so again, I studied economics, the mainstream forms of economics, whether they're Marxian, whether they're Keynesian, whether it's neoclassical. They don't speak to the world that I'm speaking to. Right? I'm speaking to abundance. Like I said, I studied poverty, but you don't get rich and you don't get wealthy by studying poverty. You don't get healthy by studying disease. You don't build a community by studying crime.
No doubt.
Right? You study what you want.
For sure.
Right? Your attention creates attention, right? Sure. It's like wherever your attention is, you're going to create.
Absolutely.
Right. So I'm a proponent of wordsmithing. Right. Being very if I even hear myself speak a word that might kind of have a drip of a little bit of poverty consciousned in it, I change my words.
Absolutely.
I change my words. I started from the perspective of a theoretician challenging economic theory.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm successful there.
No doubt.
Policy work, right? You remember our market, right? I was part of our market. Our market existed before Tops on Jefferson existed.
No doubt.
So I was part of that.
No doubt.
Right? So that's me coming out of the ivory tower, and doing applied research.
Yep, love that language.
Right, applied research, right? And it wasn't just me. There was a few. Remember Bahati Kumba?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we came into the community, right? Well, I was hired by FC Richardson as part of the urban mission. Buffalo State, at the time, was Buffalo State College. Now it's Buffalo State University.
Yeah.
I was hired, right? My position was part of the urban mission. And I'm still doing the urban mission.
No doubt.
Right? Remember, my dissertation was an essay in the art of economic cooperation, cooperative enterprise and economic development in Black America. Where I'm at right now is that my work is in alignment. From theory, I could get onto a blackboard and just kick it,
no
right?
Doubt.
And lay it out, right? Policy. The mainstream policy is laissez-faire. You know that, right? Hands off, right? Well, that's laissez-faire, hands off, profit maximization, cost minimization, individual self-interest, right? Well, that's not really getting us too far.
No doubt.
Individually self-interest.
No doubt.
Like I said, we drank the Kool-Aid.
No
right?
doubt.
So the theory is Black political economy. The policy, where I'm working with policy people. I expect this policy stuff to hit DC, right?
For sure.
But the policy is cooperative economics.
For sure.
And why cooperative economics? Because it makes sense. Right? It don't have to be ideological. It just makes sense to cooperate.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, the cooperative is a particular legal structure. Right? So a lot of people are not clear. Again, this is our job, right?
Yeah.
To explain that cooperation and the cooperative is different. The cooperative is an actual firm, right? So my cooperative is an LLC.
For sure.
Right? So we go from Black political economy as theory, the bridge from economics of scarcity to economics of abundance. Cooperative economic policy in relationship to laissez-faire policy on the neoclassical side, government intervention on the Keynesian side. Right. We're like, we ain't mad at we ain't mad at capitalists, we ain't mad at government, But we know that for us to do better, we got to practice this art of cooperation, and it works. It works. Like the churches do it, right? We kind of have a little history of this in our lives, right? It's just that we haven't formalized it. It's, you know, and then boots on the ground, community building practices,
no doubt,
right? And community building is not
practices.
Community building practices, Black political economy theory, cooperative economic policy, and community building practices. And those practices are holistic.
No doubt.
Not straight up, you know, it's like a lot of us are in ivory towers, right? It's like, or silos, right? You got like I said, sociologists, the economists, right? But community building is like building your community, my community, our children's community, our grandchildren's community, our elders' community. It's collective work. Absolutely. And it's not just economics.
Absolutely.
I'm in my lane.
No doubt.
I got a lane. You got your lane, right? And so I know what my lane is,
For sure.
But in terms of boots on the ground, we have, and I'll just give just let people know, we have a leadership academy in community building economics.
Nice.
We're on right off the foot of Chippewa.
Okay.
Right. We're in the Elmwood. We're in the West Village.
Yep.
Right? The academy is these are the language that's associated with the academy. We have an organization which is called AMO, Academy Mastermind Organization, where we mastermind spiritual and temporal advancement. Right? Spiritual and temporal. So the spiritual is us. The temporal is like, again, putting food on the table. How are we going to feed ourselves? Right? The conscious investment group, which is this, right? Which you designed that logo. Our business model is building 7 generations into the future.
I love it.
Starting with our own.
No doubt.
Starting with our own.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
And then our real estate cooperative, the mission is cooperative ownership of generational wealth. Right?
I love it.
Right. So that's what we're doing.
Love it.
We own. Matter of fact, we got it. We have a storefront, and maybe we could talk about this at the next podcast.
For sure.
Because the storefront is going to be a stakeholder storefront.
Okay.
And we're going to open it up as a cooperative. I think it's going to be one of the things, like you said, well, Doc, when you could do this all by yourself. Well, I'm in a situation now where, just like your executive assistant contacted me the other day, right? Well, clearly you can't do it by yourself.
For sure.
You need an executive,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And so I have,
and my EA is wonderful. Shouts out to Curvey.
Yeah. So I got a team. TJ Trevette Jarman they're called the Enterprise Development Associates.
Yeah.
He's working on CIG. Jasmine Ramos, let me give her a shout out too, right? She's managing the real estate cooperative, right? And so it's all coming through our academy. For sure. Right? So that's what we're doing on the ground.
That's
right?
dope. That's absolutely
we're in alignment from theory, policy to practice.
Dope, brother. This has been absolutely amazing, and I knew it absolutely would. It is expediting change by no happenstance or no coincidence that I got off a plane on Thursday from the Lead for Liberation leadership conference, and I'm stuttering, and when I do my closing, it is flawless. I'm typically dope with it, but the energy that's surrounding me right now is just crazy because I got off that plane on Thursday at like 2:30 something in the morning. I hit up Dr. Haynes, and it was just in my spirit to make sure that he was on the podcast. Got right back on a plane from Arizona to Maryland, then from Maryland to Buffalo. And at that conference, we talked about energy and vibrations, and what you put out, words are powerful, and what you put out with your energy is what you're going to attract. And this conversation is what we attracted. And in having this conversation, it is wonderful. It is beautiful that he led with life wealth, because a lot of us start talking about money and running to the bag and getting the bag and making sure we have money. But are we also taking care of our mental and physical health? We have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, so then we can have generations down the line that we take care of, that ultimately will take care of us. And then we can get to the money. But it was also very interesting, very dope, and very powerful that Dr. Haynes talked about not just getting to the bag, but how do you sustain it? How do you look at tax laws to make sure? How do you look at the things that you're purchasing? How, as a consumer, are you making sure that you are an owner as well? I'm definitely going to get that book from Dr. Haynes, and I'm definitely going to study that community in Spain. The other thing that was absolutely interesting during this podcast, Dr. Haynes, he just flows, right? So I tried to put him in a trap. I tried to trap him up, and I said socialism versus capitalism. And he said a little bit of both. He said, but you know what? What we found is that going alone is not the way. What we found that just having this isolated position on it is either one or the other is not the answer for us. So make sure you rewind this podcast. Make sure that when we cut it up, you pay attention into these small 1 minute, 2 minute segments, that you take the position that we have to make sure that it's about health, wealth, and happiness. What we vibrate, the universe is going to bring back to us. This is Expediting Change. I appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Ask myself, why is it you really want to preach, boy? I want to teach more.